Good day, beautiful people. Today we will take a look at your semen analysis. Please note that your semen analysis, this is a cost-effective method to evaluate the male reproductive system or to evaluate a dysfunction in the male reproductive organs or to evaluate infertility among males. And please note, it is a simple and inexpensive test accordingly, and it serves as an initial screening tool for male fertility. Please note that when the semen analysis results are normal, it does not require any more further testing. Please note again that if the results of the semen analysis are normal, then there is no further testing that is required or needed. However, if there are abnormalities found, okay, if there are abnormalities found, please note that additional hormone tests are required. Okay, additional hormone tests are required if there are abnormalities in the result of the semen analysis. So what are these tests? Of course, hormone tests. Examples, you have follicle stimulating hormone, uh, test for luteinizing hormone, and also test for testosterone. Okay, these tests are performed to assess possible endocrine abnormalities that causes infertility. So your semen analysis, it starts with the evaluation of the physical appearance of the semen or your macroscopic examination of the semen. And please note that we already did. We talked about that one. We talked about your macroscopic examination of your semen in the previous video. However, let's still take a look at your semen pH here. Your semen pH, it indicates accordingly the balance between the pH values of secretions of your prostate and seminal vesicles. Please note that the secretion coming from your prostate gland, they are acidic in nature, while those coming from the seminal vesicles, they are alkaline in nature accordingly. They are alkaline in nature. And a balance between the prostate and seminal vesicle secretions gives you this normal pH value of the semen. And the normal pH value of the semen is 7.2 to 8.0. It's 7.2 to 8.0. And please note that the semen pH can be measured using the pH paper, your pH meters, and then you can also utilize the pH pads of your urine analysis reagent strip. Okay, for this one, for your pH pad of a urine analysis reagent strip, same procedure. Okay, same procedure. You dip, okay, the pH pad, and then allow the reaction to occur, and then you wait for the time, for the reaction time, and compare it with the comparator or with the color chart that is provided by the manufacturer. Okay, you compare it with the color chart that is provided by the manufacturer, and yes, you record your results. Okay, same pa rin. Okay, yes, same. You can say for routine urine analysis. Okay, for your pH meters, they are utilized to provide more accurate reading of the pH. Anyway, for your semen pH, an increase in the pH of the semen indicates infection within the reproductive tract. Infection within the reproductive tract. And a decrease in pH or a pH below 7.2, it may be associated, yes, it may be associated with increased prostatic fluid, obstruction of the ejaculatory duct, or poorly developed seminal vesicles accordingly, or there is an absence of the seminal vesicles. That is for your pH of the semen. your semen viscosity. Please note that this is the consistency of the fluid, and the semen viscosity may be related to specimen liquefaction, because an incompletely liquefied, or yes, an incompletely liquefied semen sample, it may appear clumped and highly viscous. Because normally, your semen, they should be drawn into a pipette easily, and they form small discrete droplets that do not appear clumped or stringy when falling by gravity from a pipette. If droplets form threads longer than 2 centimeters, they are considered highly viscous. If the seminal fluid has droplets that form threads longer than 2 centimeters, again, they are considered highly viscous and are recorded as abnormal, because the normal value for your semen viscosity is less than 2 centimeters string. Okay, the semen should form, or the droplet should form less than 2 centimeter string, less than 2 centimeter string, or it's shorter than 2 centimeters accordingly. Okay, so you can grade your specimen or your semen as 0 to 4. 0 being watery and 4 is gel-like, or you can grade it as low, normal, or high. Okay, low, normal, or high. Please note that you should allow liquefaction to occur before you assess the viscosity of the sample. Again, you should allow liquefaction to occur before you assess the viscosity of the sample. So how will you assess the viscosity, or how will you estimate? You gently aspirate the sample into a wide-bore plastic disposable pipette, and then allow the semen to drop by gravity and observe the length of any thread. Again, you aspirate using a plastic disposable pipette. You aspirate. It should be a wide bore. Okay, your wide bore disposable pipette. Plastic disposable pipette. You aspirate using a wide-bore plastic disposable pipette, and then allow the seminal fluid to drop by gravity and observe the length of any thread. If the length of the thread is less than 2 centimeters, then accordingly the viscosity is normal. If it is if it is greater than 2 centimeters in length, the thread formed is greater than 2 centimeters in length, then it is high. Okay, it is high accordingly. As what I've said earlier, a normal sample leaves the pipette in small discrete drops. If the viscosity is normal, the drop will form a thread that is longer than 2 centimeters. Again, normally, a sample leaves the pipette in small discrete drops accordingly. Okay, another method of measuring the viscosity of the sample is you can what you call this introduce a glass rod. You can introduce a glass rod into the sample and observe the length of the thread that forms upon the withdrawal of the rod. You introduce a glass rod and then withdraw the glass rod. Okay, and you observe the length of the thread that forms upon the withdrawal of the glass rod. And yes, same, the viscosity should be recorded as abnormal when the thread exceeds 2 centimeters in length. If less than 2 centimeters in length, the thread formed is less than 2 centimeters in length, then it is normal. Accordingly, it is normal. Please note that increased viscosity of the sample, increased viscosity and incomplete liquefaction of the sample will impede the testing of your sperm motility, sperm concentration, and anti-sperm antibody reaction, as well as measurement of biochemical markers. Okay, so if the sample is incompletely liquefied or not completely liquefied, then it will affect the motility of the sperm. It will affect the concentration, anti-sperm antibody detection, and measurement of biochemical markers. Sperm motility. Please note that your sperm motility, this is the main factor which affects the penetrating ability of the sperm cells through the cervical mucous barrier. Because the sperm cells, once they are presented to the cervix, they must swim or they must propel themselves to reach the ovum for fertilization. These sperm cells, they must propel themselves through the cervical mucosa to the uterus, going to the fallopian tubes, and finally reaching the ovum for fertilization accordingly. And please note that in vitro, in laboratory testing, you have factors that affect motility. First is complete liquefaction. It affects motility, complete liquefaction. Earlier, we said that incompletely liquefied samples, they impede the motility of the sample. Okay, they impede the motility of your sperm. So, you have here your factors again. You have complete liquefaction and temperature. Temperature should be at 37 degrees Celsius accordingly. 37 degrees Celsius accordingly. And for sperm motility, 50% of the sample or 50% of the sperm cells are motile up to the third hour. That is accordingly the normal value. However, you can revitalize using Ringer's solution accordingly. You can revitalize your uh, sperm cells using Ringer's solution. Anyway, sperm motility should be evaluated ASAP or as soon as possible right after liquefaction. Preferably, that is 30 minutes after ejaculation or 30 to 1 hour after ejaculation. 30 minutes to 1 hour after ejaculation to limit the deleterious effects of dehydration, pH, or changes in temperature to limit the effects of dehydration, to limit the effects of pH or changes in temperature to the motility of your sperm. And please note that the extent of progressive sperm motility is related to pregnancy rates. The extent of progressive sperm motility, this one is related to pregnancy rates. So, in sperm motility, you determine the percentage of motile sperm and you determine the quality of motility. Again, in sperm motility, you determine the percentage of motile sperm, how many sperm are motile, okay, how many sperm are moving, okay, and you also determine the quality of motility. Sperm motility should be performed with undiluted specimen under 20 high power field, or you evaluate 20 high power field or 200 sperm cells. And please note, you test within 1 hour both the speed and direction. Or again, you evaluate both the speed and direction of motility and you grade them. Soon as we move through, we'll take a look at the grading for the sperm motility. But then please note that the sperm motility is reported in percentages. It is reported in percentages. Wherein percentages should be rounded to the nearest whole number. Percentages should be rounded to the nearest whole number. However, the convention is that to round the 0.5% to the nearest even number. Again, the convention is that to round the 0.5% to the nearest even number. Like, let's say 22, 22.5. 22.5 Please note that 2 is an even number. It is an even number. Okay, if you round the 1, if you round 22.5, you will have 23. And the convention is that you round the 0.5 to the nearest even number. Okay, you round the 0.5 to the nearest even number. If in the example that I gave, 22.5, if you round that off, okay, it will become 23. If you round it up, it will become 23. So it makes it odd. Okay, 3 is an odd number. It is not an even number. That is why 0.5 or 22.5 is rounded down to 22. It is rounded down to 22. But in case, let's say, let's say 3.5. 3.5, it is rounded up to 4. 4%, 4 is an even number. 4 is even number. Again, okay, the convention is that to round 0.5 to the nearest even number. And yes, okay, in case for odd numbers, they should be rounded down. But then, please note that the rounded percentages may not add up to 100 or they may not exceed to 100%. The total, the overall total should be 100%. The overall total should be 100%. For sperm motility, you prepare hanging drop slide. Okay, you prepare a hanging drop slide. Okay, so for the procedure, you need 1 drop of liquefied semen on a pre-warmed slide. Please note pre-warmed slide because again, okay, this should be performed at 37 degrees Celsius. And then you cover with the cover slip. The cover slip should be ringed with petrolatum. The edges of the cover slip should be ringed with petrolatum. And then wait for the sample to stop drifting, probably within 60 seconds. You wait for the sample to stop drifting, that is within 60 seconds, and then you evaluate under the microscope. You count at least 200 spermatozoa under high power field. You count at least 200 spermatozoa under high power field, and then you grade. Or you observe 20 high power fields, or you observe 20 fields, 20 high power fields, and then you evaluate. You evaluate the motility. You evaluate the motility. Okay, by the way, before I forget, there should be a deep or a 20 millimeters deep, okay, from the cover slip and this glass slide, okay, to allow a free movement of your sperm. Okay, and there should be at least 20 millimeters in depth between the slide in the cover slip to allow free motility of your sperm. To allow free motility of your sperm accordingly. Okay, for motile samples, they should be moving actively forward, and non-motile, they are sluggish in direction. Okay, for for the normal one, motility of 50% with a rating of 2.0 after 1 hour is considered normal. Again, a minimum motility of 50% with a rating of 2.0 after 1 hour is considered normal for sperm motility. This is for the WHO grading. Okay, the routine grading of motility. You have grades 4.0, 3.0, 2.0, and 1.0, and 0. Okay, you have WHO grade A, B, B, C, and D. As for the criteria, 4.0, it is rapid and has a straight motility. 3 or B is has a slower speed and has some lateral movement. 2.0 for B, slow forward progression with noticeable lateral movement. 1, or C, no forward progression. B, no movement at all. And the normal is greater than or equal to 50% with a grade 2, grade of 2, A and B after 1 hour. Grade 2, A, B, B after 1 hour accordingly. Okay, but then please note that there is a relatively difficulty. There is a difficulty in observing or in evaluating a rapid straight motility or the progression or the direction of your sperm. That is why your WHO proposed an alternative grading criteria. They proposed an alternative grading criteria for sperm motility. Because again, it is difficult for technicians or for technologists to define the forward progression accurately without bias. That is why you have this alternative sperm motility grading criteria. And this alternative sperm grading motility, it does not include speed. Okay, it does not include speed because there is a difficulty in standard reporting for speed. There is a difficulty in standard reporting for uh speed, of course. Okay, so in this alternative motility grading criteria, you can grade this motility of the sperm as progressive, non-progressive, and immotility. Progressive, non-progressive, and immotility. For progressive motility, the spermatozoa are moving actively. For progressive motility, the spermatozoa are moving actively, either in a linear or in a large circle, regardless of the speed. Okay, for progressive again, the sperm are moving, or the spermatozoa are moving linearly or in a large circle. They are actively moving regardless of the speed. For non-progressive motility, all other patterns of motility with an absence of progression. The sperm is moving with an absence of progression. Meaning, sorry, meaning there is no distance that is displaced. Okay, there is no progression. The sperm cells are just moving. Okay, so in the absence of progression, like they are swimming in small circles. Please note small circles. Okay, what you call this platform of motility of flagellar bit. Okay, that can be a motility. Just the movement of the flagella. Okay, that can be a motility. Again, non-progressive. Sperm cells, they are moving with an absence of progression. Okay, and then immotility, there is no movement at all. Immotility, there is no movement at all. Okay, there is no movement at all accordingly. And please note the presence of a high percentage of immobile sperm and clumps of sperm. It requires further evaluation to determine sperm by vitality or the presence of sperm agglutinins. Again, if there is high percentage of immobile or immotile sperm and there are clumps of sperm, it requires further evaluation to determine the sperm vitality and presence of sperm agglutinins. Okay, if you have high percentage of immotile sperm. Okay, but then good thing if you have a high percentage of progressive sperm. Okay, or sperm cells that are progressive in movement. computer-assisted semen analysis, please note that this provides an objective testing of the sperm motility based on sperm velocity and trajectory. Okay, because in the manual, it has bias. It has bias. Okay, maybe for me, it is motile. Maybe for me, it is fast. Maybe for me, it's progressive. But for you, it's slow. It's non-progressive. It's not moving somewhat. That is why your computer-assisted semen analysis, it provides an objective testing for sperm motility, and it is based on the sperm velocity and trajectory or the direction of the motion. Okay, it is a what call this automated analyzer, automated system. It is an automated system accordingly. Your computer-assisted semen analysis also determines the sperm concentration and sperm morphology. It also determines the sperm concentration and sperm morphology because okay, this what we call this automated system, please note that they incorporate the microscope and whatsoever for, I mean, in the microscope is incorporated in the machine. Okay, so examples, there are actually three. Okay, for CASA, you have sperm class analyzer, and then you have your Cirrus CASA, and your automated sperm quality analyzers. Okay, for what we call this, for computer-assisted semen analysis. So let's take a look at your sperm count and concentration, or sperm concentration and sperm count. So you have here your factors that affect sperm count and sperm concentration, the abstinence period. Of course, if there is a short abstinence, okay, the quality of the sample is compromised. The number of sperm cells is also compromised. What else? Infection, stress also affects the sperm count and sperm concentration. That is why it sperm count and concentration requires more than one semen sample to be evaluated for infertility studies. One sample for infertility studies is not enough. You need more than one, at least 2 to 3 samples in 2 to 3 weeks of intervals. 2 to 3 samples in 2 to 3 weeks of intervals for fertility evaluation. That the volume of the ejaculate is contributed mainly by the seminal vesicles and the prostate gland, with the small amounts coming from your bulbourethral glands and epididymis. Precise measurements of the volume or the semen volume is essential in any evaluation of the semen. Why? Because the semen volume allows the total number of spermatozoa and non-sperm cells in the ejaculate to be calculated. Again, semen volume allows the total number of spermatozoa and non-sperm cells in the ejaculate to be calculated. But how are you going to uh, measure the volume of the ejaculate? How are you going to measure the volume of the ejaculate? Accordingly, the volume of the ejaculate is best measured by weighing the sample in the vessel in which it is collected. Okay, it is best measured by weighing the sample in the vessel in which it is collected accordingly. How is this done? Collect the sample in a pre-weighed, clean, disposable container. You collect the sample in a pre-weighed, clean, disposable container. Please note that empty specimen containers, they have different weights. So, each container should be individually pre-weighed. Okay, each container should be individually pre-weighed. Okay, the weight of the container should be recorded, or it may be recorded on the container. Okay, it may be recorded on the container before it is given to the client, before it is given to the man. And of course, use permanent marker or permanent pen, okay, the weight on to write the weight of the container. You write it on the vessel, on the container itself. If it says 5 grams, then you write 5.0 grams, then you write it 5.0 grams on the container using a permanent marker. And then okay, after pre-weighing, and then the sample is collected already. You weigh the vessel with the semen in it. You weigh the vessel with the semen in it, and then subtract the weight of the container. Subtract the weight of the container. Let's say, for example, okay, the semen plus the container is, let's say, for example, it weighs 10 grams. Okay, then subtract you subtract the weight of the container that you pre-weighed. Okay, and then the remaining weight, that is the volume of the container. Okay, assuming that the density of the semen is 1 gram per ml. Assuming again that the density of the container is 1 gram per ml. Okay, you calculate the volume from the sample weight, again, assuming that the density of the semen is 1 gram per ml. Alternatively, you can measure, okay, you can measure the volume directly. How? You collect the sample directly into a modified graduated glass cylinder with a wide mouth. Okay, you collect again. Alternatively, you can measure the volume directly using a when, of course, using a modified graduated glass. You collect directly in a modified graduated glass with a wide mouth. Please note, graduated. There are graduations. There are graduations. Okay? There are graduations. That is why, okay, you can, what you call this, you can measure the volume directly. You can measure the volume directly. Read the volume directly from the graduations at 0.1 ml accuracy. 0.1 ml accuracy. By the way, measuring the volume by aspirating the sample from a container into a pipette or syringe, or decanting it in a graduated cylinder, is not recommended. Why? Because not all of the sample will be retrieved. Okay, not all of the sample will be retrieved, and the volume will be underestimated. Okay, the volume lost, okay, in case you measure using a pipette, the volume lost can be between 0.3 ml and 0.9 ml. Okay, that is the error. That is the loss. Okay, if you use aspiration using a pipette. Okay, 0.3 and 0.9 ml accordingly. Okay, so again, best way to measure the semen volume is to pre-weigh. Okay, pre-weigh the sample container and then weigh the container with the sample with the semen in them. Anyway, as for the clinical significance of your semen volume, please note that low semen volume is uh, low semen volume indicates obstruction of the ejaculatory duct or there is a congenital bilateral absence of vas deferens. Okay, low semen volume is indicated, or it indicates obstruction of the ejaculatory duct, or there is a genital bilateral absence of the vas deferens, or there is the seminal vesicles is poorly developed. Okay, or the seminal vesicles is poorly developed accordingly. Aside from that, okay, and so collection problems, low semen volume, collection, probably there is a fraction that is lost. Okay, there is a fraction that is lost, or collection problems on the part of the client or on the part of the man. And there is a partial retrograde ejaculation or androgen deficiency. Low semen volume indicates partial, it may indicate partial retrograde ejaculation, or androgen deficiency. What about high semen volume? Okay, it may reflect active exudation in cases of active inflammation of the accessory organs. Okay, that is for your semen volume count. This is the number of cells per ejaculate. Please note again that sperm count, that is the number of cells per ejaculate. And the normal value of sperm count is greater than 40 million. It's greater than 40 million per ejaculate accordingly. Please note that this sperm count is otherwise known as total number of spermatozoa per ejaculate. This is the total number of spermatozoa per ejaculate. And yes, please note that normal ejaculates, okay, normal ejaculates when the male tract is unobstructed and the abstinence time is short. The total number of spermatozoa in the ejaculate is correlated to the testicular volume, and somewhat that is a measure of the capability of the testes to produce spermatozoa. Again, in case of normal ejaculates, when the male tract is not obstructed and there is a short abstinence, the total number of spermatozoa in that ejaculate is correlated with the testicular volume, and it is a measure of the capability of the testes to produce spermatozoa. That is in case if there is a short abstinence time period. Okay? Your sperm concentration. Please note your sperm concentration. This is the number of cells per ml. It's the number of cells per ml accordingly. And yes, your sperm concentration, the normal value, is 20 million to 160 million, or 20 million to 250 million per ml. Or, in short, it's greater than 20 million per ml. It's greater than 20 million per ml according. And a sperm concentration of 10 or between 10 and 20 million per ml, it is considered borderline. Please note that the concentration of spermatozoa in the semen is it is influenced by the volume of the secretions from the seminal vesicles and the prostate. That is why sperm concentration is not a specific measure of testicular function. It is not a specific measure accordingly of testicular function. Please note your sperm count and spermatozoa. Okay, they are related to both time to pregnancy and pregnancy rates. Please note again that your sperm count and sperm concentration, they are related to both the time of pregnancy, time to pregnancy, and pregnancy or rates of pregnancy. Please note that dilution of the seminal fluid is essential because it will immobilize the sperm cells before counting. It is difficult to count a cell that is moving. That is why we need to immobilize them. So here are your diluting fluid. Your diluting fluid, you have sodium bicarbonate and formalin. They are your traditional diluting fluid. Please note that both of this, they mobilize and preserve the cells. However, okay, good results can be achieved by using saline and distilled water. So, for our laboratory activity on Monday, yes, for our laboratory activity, we will utilize chilled distilled water. We will utilize chilled distilled water. Okay? And the most common dilution employed for sperm count and for sperm concentration is 1:20. How are you going to achieve this? Okay, how are you going to achieve this? You make use of WBC Thoma pipette. You make use of WBC Thoma pipette. Okay, in using WBC Thoma pipette, you aspirate up to the 0.5 mark, and then you aspirate seminal fluid, you aspirate semen up to the 0.5 mark, and then aspirate chilled distilled water or aspirate the diluting fluid up to 1 up to 11 mark. You aspirate the diluting fluid up to 11 mark. Okay, up to the 11 mark. With that, you'll have a 1:20 dilution. Okay, your dilution factor there is 20. Anyhow, you can also make 1:20 dilution by placing a well mix, by placing 25 microliters of a well-mixed liquefied semen into a small test tube. You place a 25 microliter liquefied well-mixed semen in a small test tube. And then add you add 475 microliters. You add 475 microliters of your diluting fluid, which is your distilled water. With that, you have a 1:20 dilution. 1:20 dilution. Of course, you charge into your hemocytometer, okay, and then you count. Okay, that is for your diluting fluid. Yes, this is it for your diluting fluids and your dilution according. Chambers, you have Mackler. It utilizes undiluted specimen, and the sperm cells are immobilized by heating. Okay, the sperm cells are immobilized by heating. Okay, because diluting fluid is not employed to immobilize the sperm cells. And then you have Neubauer, your Neubauer hemocytometer. Your sperm cells are counted using the central and corner squares of the large central square. Okay, again, the sperm cells are counted using the central and corner squares of the large central squares. Please note that both sides of the hemocytometer should be loaded. Both chambers should be loaded. Both chambers should be loaded, and the counts should agree with 10%, with at least within 10%. Okay, the counts should agree within 10%. Okay, or an average of the two counts is used in the calculation. If the two counts or if the counts do not agree within 10%, both the dilution and the counts are repeated. Okay, the counts should agree within 10%. But then if the counts do not agree within 10%, then you repeat both the dilution and the counts. Okay? Please note that okay, you load prior to what you call this. I mean, prior to counting, okay, you need to settle. Okay, first of course is you did already your dilution. You did already your dilution. You load your counting chamber, you load the hemocytometer and allow to settle for 3 to 5 minutes. Allow the cells to settle for 3 to 5 minutes, and then you count you count using the central and corner squares of the large central square. Please note that you only count the fully developed sperm cells. You count only the fully developed sperm cells. Again, you count only the fully developed sperms, those with a head and a tail. A head, neck, and a tail. Okay. Also, you can add crystal violet stain. You can add crystal violet stain to help in the visualization when using bright field microscopy. Again, you can add crystal violet stain to help in the visualization when using the bright field microscopy, because it is easier to count using the phase contrast. Okay, there it is relatively more difficult to count in when using a bright field microscope. That this is a microscopic view of your new improved Neubauer counting chamber. Please note that your improved Neubauer counting chamber, it has two chambers. This is an illustration or a microscopic view of one of the counting chamber. And please note that it has 9 squares. It has 9 squares. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You have 9 large squares present here. Please note that okay, the four corner squares, they are considered as your four large squares, which are for WBC. They are for WBC counting. They are for WBC counting, and this WBC squares, they are subdivided into 16 squares. They are subdivided into 16 squares. Please note that this is not our concern. The WBC squares, this is not actually our concern. Our concern here is this is in semen analysis, or in semen or sperm count and sperm concentration. Our concern here is the central square. Your center square is subdivided into 25 smaller squares. It is subdivided into 25 smaller squares. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 times 5, we will have 25. Okay, that is for, please note, that is for your sperm. Okay, this ones, we will utilize these ones for your sperm cells accordingly. These are here. Please note that this uh, at the central square, each of the small squares here, each of the small squares here, they are 0.2, sorry, they are 0.2 by mm by 0.2 mm. They are 0.2 mm by 0.2 mm. So this one small square here is 0.2 mm by 0.2 mm, or the area is 0.04 millimeters squared. Okay, the area, please note that the what do you call this? The formula for area is length times width. Okay, so length times width, okay, 0.2 times 0.2 mm will give you 0.4 mm. So this is our concern. Look at this one. This is our counting. This is our concern. Okay, please note that the area for this one is 0.2 mm by 0.2 mm. Length times width. Okay, length times width. Okay, it is square, 0.2 by 0.2 mm. This is our concern. Okay, this is our concern. This R. Okay, okay. So in this large central square, again, sabi natin you have 25 smaller squares. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 times 5 will give you 25. But then, okay, the squares utilized for counting, you have the corner squares. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, the center small square. Okay, that is the ones that will we utilize in counting your sperm cells. Please note, pakitandaan po, ito po ang gagamitin natin. Okay, for sperm concentration. Let's take a look. This one, the number 5 here, okay, the fifth square, okay, the central square, okay, this is for sperm counting. This is for sperm counting. And please note that the fifth square is subdivided into 25 smaller squares. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times 5 again is 25. And this small square, I mean the corner square, okay, this Squares here, smaller squares, ganito po ang itsura. Okay, they look like this. Okay, they look like this accordingly. Okay, they look like this, please. Okay, this is your view when you count your sperm cells. For your round cells, please note that your round cells, they are your immature and your immature sperm cells and your WBCs. Please note that only fully developed sperm cells should be counted. Immature WBCs or your round cells together with your immature sperm cells, they should not be included in sperm count and concentration. However, okay, their presence can be significant and they may need to be identified and be counted separately. Okay, please note that greater than 1 million leukocytes per ml indicates inflammation or infection within the reproductive organs. Greater than 1 million spermatids per ml, when you say spermatids, these are, yes, they do not have a tail. Okay, it indicates disruption of spermatogenesis and may indicate a viral infection, exposure to toxic chemicals, and genetic disorders accordingly. Okay, so let's take a look at this formula. Sperm concentration equals number of sperm cells counted times dilution factor divided by number of squares used times volume of one square. Okay, so your number of cells counted, of course, okay, it is a variable, of course. It depends on the how many cells you counted. Okay? Your dilution factor, okay, your dilution factor, if you utilized 1 is to 20, if you utilized 1 is to 20, or I mean, if you utilize your WBC Thoma pipette, okay, if you utilize your WBC Thoma pipette, that is, the dilution factor is 20, okay, because the dilution you did is 1 is to 20. Okay, how did you do in WBC Thoma pipette? You aspirated up to the zero point 0.5 mark, and then you aspirated semen up to the zero point 0.5 mark, and then you aspirated diluting fluid up to the 11 mark. Please note that in this one, in that case, you need to subtract 1. Okay? Because first thing is the 11 mark includes the bulb volume. The 11 mark accordingly includes the bulb volume. And the zero point 0.5 mark is not actually a true volumetric mark. Okay, that is why you need to subtract 1, 11 minus 1, and then divide it by 0.5, 0.5 as your sample. Kasi. Okay? Ayan. So, yes, if, again, you utilized your WBC Thoma pipette, okay, and your dilution is 1 is to 20, then your dilution factor is 20. Okay, so substitute df is 20. Uh, there is no unit of measurement for this dilution factor. It's as is 20. Okay, number of squares used. Okay, because we require 5 squares. Please, we require 5 squares. 5 small RBC squares. 5 small RBC squares. Okay, and then volume of 1 square. Okay, squares used, pakipalitan na lang po siya dyan. It's 5. And then the volume of 1 square. Please note that the formula for computation of volume is area times height or times the depth. Okay, area times depth or times the height. Okay, and your area, okay, your area, how do you calculate for the area? Area is length times width. Okay, length times width. Okay, so in calculating the volume, you need length, the width, and the depth or the height. Okay, you need the length, the width, and the depth. Okay, please note that the depth for Neubauer counting chamber, that is the depth, the distance between the counting chamber and the cover slip. Okay, it is constant somewhat in the Neubauer counting chamber, that is 0.1 mm. That is 0.1 mm. Anyway, the area of one RBC square is 0.2 mm times 0.2 mm. That is 0.04. Okay, that is 0.04 mm. Okay, that is 0.04 mm. Okay, but then the volume of one RBC square is 0.2 mm times 0.2 mm times 0.1 mm. Okay, giving you 0.004, 0.004 cubic millimeters. Okay, giving you 0.004 cubic millimeters. So your value here is 0.004 cubic millimeters, mm3. Ganun po. Okay, that is for the volume. Okay, of course, you substitute number of your cells times your dilution, which is dilution factors, which is 20, number of squares used, which is 5, and then this one is 0.005. cubic millimeters. 0.04 cubic millimeters. And please note that your result here, okay, please note that your result here is microliters or CUMM, cells, sperm cells per CUMM or mm cube. Okay, and please note, you need to convert that one into ml. You need to convert that one into ml to have cells per ml. Okay, so cells per UL times 1000 to get your cells per ml. That is for your formula, for this formula. Please try. Okay, please try. Okay, let's take a look at this formula. Okay, your sperm concentration equals number of sperm cells counted times dilution factor times volume correction factor times 1000. Okay, your dilution factor, if you utilize the dilution 1:20 is 20 still. Okay, your volume correction factor equals 1 over volume. 1 over the volume of your square. 1 over the volume of your square. So for 1 RBC square, okay, for 1 RBC square, your volume is I'm sorry, for 1 RBC square, your VCF, sorry, for 1 RBC square, your VCF is 1 divided by 0.004 millimeters. Okay, cubic millimeters. Okay, 1 over 0.004 cubic millimeters. Okay, for 5 RBC square, you need to multiply. Okay, 1 divided by 0.004 cubic millimeters times 5 because you have 5 RBC squares. Okay, ayan. So, for this one, of course, okay, you calculate. Okay, you calculate. Of course, your sperm cells counted. Okay, if nagbilang ka na kung ilan na ang nabilang mo under the microscope. And then, you substitute your DF, 20, and then your VCF times 1,000. Okay, times 1,000. Okay, that is for this formula. That is for this formula. Number of cells count, number of sperm cells counted, okay? In 5, in 5 W and in 5 red cell squares, in 5 RBC squares. Okay, because your volume correction factor is this one, 5. I mean your volume correction factor. You need to calculate for your volume correction factor. If, okay, you will utilize 4, if you will utilize 4 only, then you need to change this one. You need to change into 4. Okay, you need to change this one into 4. Okay, that is for this concentrate. That is for this formula. So you have here a sample problem. Okay, in a 1:20 dilution, 600 sperm cells are counted in 2 WBC counting squares. Calculate the sperm concentration per ml and the total sperm count in a specimen with a volume of 2 ml. This one utilizes the shortcut method. Okay, it utilizes the shortcut method. Okay, you calculate. Here is sample problem again. 1:20, 71 sperm cells are counted in 5 RBC counting squares, and calculate the sperm concentration per ml and the total sperm count in a specimen with a volume of 3.5 ml. Okay, you calculate using the two formulas that I discussed. Okay, so you have your clinical significance of sperm count and sperm concentration. When you say oligospermia, there is a decrease in the number of cells or sperm cells. Okay? Oligospermia, there is a decrease in the number of sperm cells, or there is a presence of few motile cells. When you say azoospermia, there is a complete or total absence of spermatozoa. When you say azoospermia, there is a complete total absence of spermatozoa. And azoospermia is seen in bilateral underdeveloped testes, obstruction and infection with gonorrhea. While for oligospermia, it is seen in unilateral or bilateral hypotropic testes and hypothyroidism. Okay, for oligospermia, it is seen in unilateral or bilateral hypotropic testes and hypothyroidism. And then when you say necrospermia, there is the presence of dead or immobile cells. There is the presence of dead or immobile cells. And it is in hypertrophic testes and decreased in fructose levels. Hypertrophic testes and decreased in fructose levels. Okay, please note that you need to calculate your round cells. And yes, your round cells, again, they are your immature sperm cells and your leukocytes. You need to calculate, you need to differentiate and enumerate them. Okay, for your predominant leukocyte in the semen, they are peroxidase positive granulocytes. Again, the predominant form of leukocyte in the semen, they are peroxidase positive granulocyte. And yes, you can differentiate them from spermatogenic cells and lymphocytes using peroxidase stain. Using peroxidase stain. Please note that count your round cells separately. Okay? Count your round cells separately. Or you can count the number of spermatids or leukocytes seen in conjunction with 100 mature sperm cells. Okay, you can count the number of spermatids or leukocytes seen in conjunction with 100 mature sperm cells. So here is so I guess let's end here. Let's continue some other time. And this has been Gael, reminding you to live fully, love deeply, love often, keep learning, and never forget to enjoy the ride. And as you move forward, may you always choose curiosity over fear, kindness over convenience, and growth over comfort. Celebrate your small victories. Honor your quiet moments and trust that every step, no matter how uncertain, shapes the story you are meant to tell. The world is wide, your time is precious, and your journey is uniquely yours. So go make it extraordinary. Again, this has been Gael. Thank you. Thank you so much, and see you around.